AITA for letting my parents lose everything after they sued me over my sister's mortgage? My name is Rachel Bennett, but at home they call me Ray. I am 32 years old and I really thought this Christmas was going to be like any other. The same usual house in Schaumburg, the same kind of old lights strung up outside, the same arguments disguised as family bonding, but boy was I wrong. Before telling you what happened that night, I need to give you some context. My parents are Sharon and David. My mom is 58. My dad is 61. They have been married for 35 years and still live in the house where we grew up. One of those houses that look normal on the outside, but on the inside hold years of, here you do what I say. And then there is my younger sister Brooke. She is 27, 5 years younger than me, but with her, it has always been a different story. They treat Brooke as if the world owes her everything. She has a boyfriend, Derek. They have been together for 2 years. He is not a bad person, but he is always trying to look good in front of my parents. The kind who laughs at all the father-in-law's jokes, even if they are not funny. Since we were little girls, the message was very clear. If I asked for something, the answer was that we could not do it. If Brooke asked for it, everything was arranged. When I was in high school, I wanted to join a theater workshop. It was a small fee, nothing out of this world. My mom said no, that things were tight, that I better just focus on my studies. 3 years later, Brooke wanted dance classes, and look what a coincidence, they did find the money. When I graduated, I worked really hard to get a scholarship for college. I worked, studied, and slept whenever I could. Brooke, on the other hand, had her tuition paid without anyone batting an eye. And they still told me, it is just that you are very independent. Over time you get used to it, or so you think. Brooke was the spoiled one and I was the responsible one, the one who does not bother anyone, the one who figures things out on her own. So on the afternoon of December 24th, I left my rented apartment in Wicker Park heading to my parents' house in Schaumburg. The traffic was heavy, like always around those dates, between last-minute shopping and people moving around for dinner on the expressways. When I arrived, the extended family was already there. There was my Uncle Greg, my Aunt Pamela, my cousins Logan and Haley, and my Grandma Evelyn, sitting in her armchair with her sweater and her, let us see what they come up with now face. On the table, there were already glasses of fruit punch and eggnog. The living room sounded like a TV was on. Voices over voices and loud laughter. My mom saw me and approached with open arms. Ray, she said to me, just as if everything was perfect. How is work going, sweetie? Good, Mom. Very good, actually, I answered. I work in marketing for a tech company. I do decently well. I pay my rent, my things, and I have been saving for years to put a down payment on my own condo. That is great, my mom said. But as she was telling me that, her eyes were already drifting toward the door, as if looking for Brooke. I went to the kitchen to help set things up. That was when I started noticing something weird. My parents were looking at each other with little smiles. Not the normal smile, no. It was that almost time face. And when Brooke finally arrived with Derek, my parents got extremely excited. They lowered their voices, got close to her and whispered in her ear. Brooke had a face like someone who already knows the end of the story. Derek would not leave her side. She was laughing, touching his arm, whispering things to him. Everything good, Brooke? I asked her. Yes, she answered with a huge smile. I am super good. Today is going to be amazing. I shrugged. I thought maybe Derek is finally going to propose to her or something like that. I was happy for her, even though it made me a little bit angry how everything always revolved around Brooke. Around 7 o'clock in the evening, we sat down to eat dinner. My mom brought out her special occasion dinnerware, set out pretty napkins. There was turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, apple salad, green bean casserole, rolls, everything set up beautifully. My dad played the role of the host, carving the turkey as if it were a gala event. My Uncle Greg cracked his usual jokes. My Grandma Evelyn complained about her knee and the weather, just like every year, everything normal until it was not. I was halfway through my plate when my mom stood up, grabbed her glass and tapped it with a little spoon. Family, she said, can I have your attention for a moment? It went silent. Even my grandma stopped talking. My mom took a breath as if she were about to cry from excitement. David and I have a beautiful surprise. We have been planning it for months. My dad stood up next to her with a big smile plastered on. We bought a condo for Brooke, he said. And then everything exploded. Applause. Screams. No way. My Aunt Pamela with her hand over her mouth. My cousins celebrating. My Grandma Evelyn even smiled. Brooke stood up pretending she was not expecting it, but you could tell she already knew. Really? She said with a shaky voice, acting surprised. Really, my love, my mom said. She was already crying from excitement. It is yours. I sat there with my fork suspended in the air. A condo. Not some help. Not a little push. A condo. We sign the papers next week with the title company, my dad added. It is in the Lakeview neighborhood, near Lincoln Park. It has a pretty view and is close to everything. Everyone started asking for details. Brooke took out her cell phone and showed pictures. Pictures she clearly already had. It is perfect, my aunt was saying. Next level, my cousin was saying. This is a blessing, my mom was saying. Squeezing her hand, Brooke hugged my parents. Derek and I were just talking about how we needed more space, she said. My dad winked at her. And you are going to need it sooner than you think because you are getting married. Another wave of applause. More congratulations. Derek shook my dad's hand as if he were closing a deal. Brooke was smiling as if the world belonged to her. I clapped too, but inside I felt a pit in my stomach. I had been saving for years for something like that, and just like that, out of nowhere they were giving it to her. My mom turned to me. Ray, isn't it just beautiful? Yes, I said, trying to sound normal. It is very nice. Congratulations, Brooke. Brooke ran to hug me. I am so excited. I am already thinking about the housewarming party. You guys are going to come, right? As soon as we settle in, I will invite everyone. Of course we will, my Uncle Greg said. Congratulations, kiddo. I smiled and nodded. Deep down, the truth is it hurt because they had never, not even closely, given me anything like that. Not even some major support, nothing. The rest of the dinner was about the condo the whole time. Brooke talked about decorating. Derek talked about the commute to his job. My parents talked about how proud they were. Nobody asked about me or how I was doing or what plans I had. It was Brooke, Brooke, Brooke. As always after dinner, the living room divided. The men stayed watching the football game on the television. The women were still looking at Brooke's phone. And the kids were playing with their gifts. I helped clear the plates and went to the kitchen with my mom. I tried to keep a calm face. The condo is pretty, I said while putting things away. Isn't it? My mom responded happily. We saw a lot of them before. But this is the ideal one. Brooke is going to be thrilled. I kept washing the dishes not knowing what to say. What do you say when you realize once again that in that house you are always secondary? About an hour later, my mom came up to me. Ray, come to the kitchen for a second, please. I thought it was for dessert or to serve coffee. I followed her, but when I walked in, my dad was already there. He had a manila folder in his hands. Both of them had serious faces. What is wrong? I asked. My dad handed me the folder. This is for you. I opened it and what I saw threw me off balance. Papers with stamps, charts, pages and pages. A bank folder with the mortgage, the payment schedule. Documents to be signed. What is this? I asked, turning the pages. They are the mortgage documents for Brooke's condo, my mom said. I looked up. Okay, and why are you giving them to me? My mom shrugged as if it were obvious. Because we only had enough for the down payment. The rest, you are going to pay for it. I felt the heat rise to my face. Wait a minute, I said, putting the folder down on the counter. You are telling me that you want me to pay the mortgage for Brooke's condo. They both nodded. And not just pay it, my dad added as if it were nothing. It is going to be in your name. You are going to sign. We put down the down payment. I froze. What do you mean in my name? I asked. Are you guys serious? It is the easiest way for the bank to approve it with your income, my mom said. And that way everything is settled. We know you have savings, she added. You told us yourself. And you are doing well and it is not going to be a problem for you, my dad finished. Besides, this way you show that you love your sister. I felt like I was watching a bad movie. Yes, I have savings, I said, watching my tone. But those savings are for my own condo. I have been saving up for years. I plan to buy next year. Ray. My mom tried to sound sweet. We are family. Family supports each other. I shook my head. No, I am not going to sign a loan that is not for me. And I am not going to pay for anyone else's condo. I have worked hard for my money and I am going to use it for my future. My dad's face changed. His jaw tensed. The truth is you do not even need it, he blurted out. You are 32 and you are still single. You have no partner. You have no plans. You are going to stay like that and that is it. It hurt like a punch. Not because of what he said, but because of the certainty with which he said it, as if my life were worth less. Brooke is young, he continued. And she is pretty, she has Derek, she has a future. She does deserve that condo. I turned to look at my mom hoping she would say something, anything that she would defend me. But my mom just kept looking at the floor. I am not going to sign that mortgage, I said firmly. And I am not going to pay it. You are selfish, my dad spat. I grabbed my coat and my purse. I walked toward the living room. Brooke saw me from the couch, happy as could be. Are you leaving already? She asked. I feel sick, I lied. I am going to leave. I did not say goodbye to everyone. I went outside quickly. The cold air hit my face. In the car my hands were shaking. It was already late at night. One of those nights where the city looks pretty from afar and ugly on the inside. I drove back to Wicker Park on autopilot. The streets had Christmas lights and people returning from their dinners. And me with a lump in my throat, I got to my building, went up, poured myself a glass of wine, sat on the couch and cried. I cried as if something had finally broken, because it was not just the condo, it was the whole accumulated history. The next day, December 25th, my cell phone rang. It was my mom. For a second I thought, they are going to apologize. Ray, we need to talk, my mom said. But she did not sound sorry. Last night you acted as if you were going to make a scene. You made us look bad in front of everyone. We had to say you were feeling sick to make an excuse for you. I stayed quiet in disbelief. Is that what you are worried about? I asked. I am going to bring you the documents tomorrow, she continued without stopping. You have to sign them and start paying. Mom, I said, taking a deep breath. I already told you no. Yes, she answered dryly. Yes, you are going to do it. This is what a family does. No, I answered slowly. I am not going to sign that mortgage and I am never going to pay for Brooke's condo. And I hung up. Immediately another call came in. I did not answer. And another and another. I turned off the sound. Then the messages arrived. My dad writing to me about loyalty, my mom about disappointment. I did not reply. The next day Brooke called me. Ray, I heard, she said, and her voice had an edge to it. I cannot believe how cruel you are being. Cruel, I repeated. What are you talking about? Your condo is more important than my plans, she said. You can save up again. You are doing well. I felt like laughing but out of anger. Brooke, do you realize what you are asking me? If you really love me, she blurted out, will you help me? That is what sisters do. And what have you done for me? I asked. That does not matter, she replied quickly. What matters is that I need support and you are being selfish. I hung up. And in that moment I made a decision I had been putting off for years. I went on my phone and blocked my mom's, my dad's, and Brooke's numbers. And for the first time in a very long time I breathed. Almost a month passed, a whole month with no calls, no messages, no pressure. I went to work, came back home, watched shows, lived my life. I started looking at condo listings again and got excited once more. I convinced myself that they had finally understood. Once again I was wrong. A Tuesday towards the end of January, I was getting ready to go to work when there was a knock on my door. It was not a neighbor, it was not a delivery guy, it was a man with a vest and an ID badge. Rachel Bennett, he asked. Yes, I replied. I am here to drop off a notice, he said. It is a court summons. My stomach tightened. I signed for the receipt with a trembling hand. I closed the door and stood in the living room looking at the envelope. Came from a law firm I did not know. Parker, Williams & Associates, a very serious name, the kind that scares you. I opened the envelope, read the first page and felt like I could not breathe. My parents were suing me. They were demanding $240,000 for upbringing expenses, not for alimony or anything similar, but a reimbursement for having raised me. I had to sit down. I read it again and again. It said that they had raised me, that they had paid for food, clothing, housing, medical care, education, emotional support, and that now, due to my refusal to support the family in their time of need, I had to reimburse them. It felt like an attempt to pressure me through the courts. My first reaction was to go to their house and confront them, beg them to stop, but I understood what they were after. They wanted me to panic and come back with my head down. So I did something else. I called my friend Chris Lawson. We studied together in college. He is a lawyer. Chris, I said when he answered. I need help. What happened? He asked. My parents are suing me. For $240,000. There was a silence. For what? He said. For raising me, I replied, and I sounded absurd to myself. I told him everything. The dinner, Brooks' condo, the bank folder, what they told me in the kitchen, the calls, the blocking. Chris did not interrupt me. When I finished, he let out a heavy sigh. Ray, this is really bad, but calm down, they can sue for whatever they want on paper. Whether it actually proceeds is another thing. Can they? I asked. Can they really do that? Parents have a legal obligation to provide for their minor children, he explained. You cannot charge someone for fulfilling an obligation. This, in simple terms, makes absolutely no sense, but we have to respond formally. Do not ignore it. So I am going to win? I asked, my heart still racing. Most likely they will throw it out quickly, he said. But we are going to do it right, and we are going to bring evidence. I hung up feeling a little less alone, but still with a sadness that burned inside me. My parents, my own parents, were willing to take me to court over a condo that was not even mine. A couple of months passed and the hearing arrived. I walked into the courtroom with a mix of nerves and anger. Chris was with me with his briefcase full of documents. My parents were already sitting there, rigid, with a skinny lawyer in an expensive suit, looking like he wanted to disappear. Brooke was a few rows back, looking at me as if I were the villain. When they announced the judge, everyone stood up. Judge Denise Harrington walked in unhurriedly. Short hair, glasses, a serious look. One of those people who does not buy sob stories with tears. She reviewed the file. The hearing in the matter of Bennett versus Bennett is now open, she said. The plaintiffs are requesting the payment of $240,000 for alleged child-rearing expenses. My parents' lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my clients maintain that they have incurred extraordinary expenses for the benefit of the defendant, who now refuses to financially support the family. The judge looked at him. Without any emotion, she said, Counselor, are you telling me that parents can charge their daughter for having fed and clothed her when she was a minor? The lawyer swallowed hard. Your Honor, the defendant has shown ingratitude. That does not answer my question, the judge cut him off. I asked you if you consider it enforceable to charge for basic child-rearing obligations. The lawyer adjusted his papers. It is a unique case, Your Honor. The judge turned to Chris. Counselor Lawson, I am listening. Chris stood up. Thank you, Your Honor. This lawsuit is baseless. The obligation of maintenance and care towards minor children is a legal duty. There is no basis to demand reimbursement for what the law mandates. And here they are not asking for alimony. They are asking for a retroactive reimbursement for raising her. My parents' lawyer tried to intervene. Your Honor, the plaintiffs maintain that they went beyond the basics, he said. Beyond in what sense? Asked the judge. The lawyer got tangled up in his words. They gave her a home with love, guidance, values. The judge raised an eyebrow. All right, she said. Then I am going to ask directly. She turned to my parents. Mr. David Bennett, Mrs. Sharon Bennett, please stand up. My parents stood up. After your daughter turned 18, the judge asked, did you pay for her college? My dad hesitated. No, Your Honor, he said. Did you buy her a car? No. Did you help her with rent or housing? No. Did you give her financial support in any way? They looked at each other. Not directly, my mom muttered. Then, the judge said without raising her voice, there is no subsequent extraordinary sacrifice that justifies what you are requesting. And even if there were, charging for the upbringing itself is legally unsustainable. The judge took the documents that Chris had handed her. She reviewed them. Counselor Lawson, she said, What do these receipts show? Chris took a breath. Here it states that my client studied on a full scholarship, paid her rent, paid for her car, and covered her living expenses without the support of the plaintiffs. In contrast, here are documents proving that the plaintiffs paid the full tuition for their youngest daughter, and additionally provided a down payment of approximately $60,000 for a condo worth around $290,000, seeking to have my client sign the mortgage and cover the rest. The judge looked up. Is this true? She asked my parents. My mom, turning red, spoke quickly. Brooke needed more support, she said. The judge leaned back in her chair. So you provided extensive financial support to one adult daughter and not the other. And now you expect the daughter you did not support to pay you $240,000 for having raised her. My dad opened his mouth, but nothing came out. What is that called, Mr. Bennett? The judge asked. My dad looked down. The judge closed the file. The lawsuit is dismissed as baseless, she ruled. The plaintiffs are ordered to pay all legal fees and court costs, and they are warned that these types of unfounded actions constitute an abuse of the judicial process. She banged her gavel, and it was over. My parents sat perfectly still, as if they did not understand. Brooke was crying in the back. My parents' lawyer was already packing up his things quickly, like someone who wants to leave without being seen. I felt relief, a whole lot of it, but I also felt something akin to mourning. Because yes, I won, but I lost the idea of family that I still had left. The next day my Uncle Greg called me. Ray, I found out, he said in a low voice. I cannot believe your parents sued you. Nobody knew. If we had known, we would have stopped them. Then my Aunt Pamela called me, my cousins, even people from the neighborhood who recognized me by sight because of my parents. It turned out that a cousin of Derek's was there on the day of the hearing. He told the story at a lunch, someone repeated it, and just like that, without asking permission, the story spread first through the family and then through the church. My grandma Evelyn was the one who completely broke my heart. My child, she told me, I raised 5. Never. Not for a single second did it cross my mind to charge them for it. What happened to your parents? And it was not just the family. My parents had spent years at their local church. My mom was in the women's group. My dad helped with activities and fundraisers. They had lifelong friends. After the trial, many stopped talking to them. They stopped inviting them, they deleted them from the committee group chat. My mom was given the cold shoulder in her group. My dad was pushed out of an organization he used to brag about being in. But the hardest hit was the money. They paid around $13,000 for the lawyer, plus the court costs and legal fees from the trial. To top it off, they went into debt. Part of it they put on their credit card and part of it they borrowed because they had already drained their savings for the down payment on Brooke's condo. About 3 months after the trial, Chris called me. You are not going to believe this, he said. What now? I asked. Your parents had to sell Brooke's condo, he told me. They could not afford the mortgage. It was a heavy monthly payment, the kind that strangles you if you do not have a high income. I stared at the wall. I felt a weird mix of emotions. A part of me felt satisfaction because their plan fell apart, and another part felt sadness because Brooke also ended up without what she was already taking for granted. And where does Brooke live? I asked. From what I know, she and Derek rented something smaller, he replied. On the other side of the city. I hung up and stayed there thinking about how unfair everything had been. Brooke did not invent the plan, but she jumped on board without hesitating. She was willing to let me sign and pay for her life. The months passed peacefully. I went back to my routine. I kept saving. I got excited about my plan again. I found a condo that I really liked. 2 bedrooms, great natural light, a location that suited me well. I started looking at the numbers, doing the math for Rayal. About 6 months after the trial, an unknown number called me one day. I was not going to answer, but something made me pick up the phone. Hello, Rachel, a voice said. It is your mom. My stomach did a flip. How did you get this number? I asked. That does not matter, she said, rushed. Look, I wanted to talk to you. I think enough time has passed. We should see each other and talk. Make peace. A short, dry laugh escaped me. Make peace, I repeated. You and my dad sued me for $240,000. It was a mistake, she said quickly. We were upset about the condo situation. We were not thinking clearly. A mistake is saying too much at a dinner, I answered her. You guys hired a lawyer, served me with papers, took me to court. But we are family, she insisted. We can get past this. We can talk to your grandmother, apologize. We can sit down with Chris, whatever it takes. I sat down on the couch, looked around my living room, my peace, my rented but very own home. You want to talk about family? I said, much calmer now. Where was the family when I needed support for college? Where were you when I started working and was struggling? Where were you when I was scraping together every single dollar to be able to buy something of my own? We were always there, my mom said, as if she actually believed it. I did not answer. You were always there for Brooke. You left me alone because I was the responsible one. That is not true, she muttered. Yes, it is, I said. And you know it. There was silence. Rachel, please, she finally said. Cannot we just leave this behind us? I did not answer because it was not a misunderstanding, it was a mindset. They told me my life was worth less because I was single. They wanted to take my future away to support Brooks, and when I said no, they crossed a line. But we are your parents, she said, and her voice trembled a little. Parents do not sue their children for raising them, I said. Parents do not humiliate their daughters for not meeting expectations. Parents do not demand that one daughter sacrifice herself so the other can live comfortably. We made a mistake, she insisted. This was not a mistake, I replied. This was showing who you really are. I am fine, I said. I am at peace. I work, I support myself. I am building my life and I do not need your approval if it comes with conditions. I hung up. She did not call again. A few months later, by then I had already turned 33, I signed the purchase papers for my own condo. When they handed me the keys, I stood at the entrance for a while. Hardwood floors, large windows, beautiful natural light pouring in. A simple but well-kept kitchen. Everything I had imagined when I was saving up in silence while my family celebrated Brooke. The down payment was exactly that money I had guarded for years, the very same money my parents wanted me to throw away on my sister's condo mortgage. I am still single, still focused on my work. Maybe my dad would say I am going to end up alone, but if being alone means having peace, making my own choices, and not living under pressure, then yes, I am doing fine. I have my own place, my own life, my own decisions. Sometimes I wonder if Brooke understood how it all ended. Instead of a free condo, she ended up renting and with parents who destroyed themselves trying to force me to sign and pay, but it is no longer my burden. I learned that sometimes the healthiest thing to do is to walk away from those who do not value you, even if they share your blood. Comment. I've been thinking a lot about what this story really means for all of us. It reminds me how important it is to recognize your own worth and set clear boundaries with family. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to step back and choose peace over pressure. I've learned that true responsibility starts with protecting your own future, not sacrificing it for someone else's comfort. Healing begins when you stop carrying the weight of other people's expectations. You deserve to build a life that feels right for you, even if it means walking away from old patterns. What stands out to me is how showing up for yourself can actually inspire better relationships in the long run. I hope you take a moment today to reflect on where you might need to draw a line for your own well-being. It's okay to prioritize your mental space and surround yourself with genuine support. At the end of the day, choosing self-respect leads to a quieter, more fulfilling path forward. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.